on-site interview is kind of like a first date. What's up, lover researchers? It's Kevin. Welcome back to part 2 in our video about the UX researcher interview process. We have Paula here again. What's up, Paula? Yeah, in our first video, we talked about how to best prepare for the recruiter call and the hiring manager call and what it entails. In this video, we dedicated the whole thing to the on-site because it's its own beast.
Definitely.
Right? So today we're going to talk about what it entails, how to best prepare for it, and the don'ts, and what not to do on your first date.
Right. I haven't presented a portfolio on any of my first dates, but I get the analogy. This is cool. All right, so the on-site interview, you've clinched the deal. You're in person.
Almost clinched the deal.
Yeah, almost clinched the deal. You've kind of like the final stretch here. For me, I think I always approach it as this is the exciting part in many ways. You get to meet the team. You get to put the spotlight on yourself in terms of what you've achieved, what you can bring in terms of your value to the team. You should be preparing several days in advance of the on-site, and there should be a lot of preparation that you're putting into this. You're going to be giving a portfolio presentation. This is no small feat. In terms of what I do personally, I strategically pick 2 projects that really show the end-to-end journey of a project where I will have worked with designers, rest of the team, and a product has been launched. Really being very clear about the business impact. Be really strategic about what you pick to put in the portfolio.
Yeah, and I would say if you do enough research on the role itself, you can tailor your projects to what the team is looking for.
Yep.
Like you, I've done end-to-end projects, like from start to finish, but I know maybe if you're starting out as maybe a research assistant, you're doing mostly usability things, then maybe pick some
evaluative work that you've done, and that's fine too. Really what they're assessing is your storytelling. That's the key thing. Your presentation skills, being crisp and very clear, how you've picked methodologies to unpack a question, the impacts of your research, what you might do differently if you had more time or more resources, or how you do things differently if you had less time.
I have a video on what you should include in your portfolio and how to present it at the on-site or for an interview. So go check that out here or in the description below. So a portfolio presentation, I've had cases where I present it just to one person. This is at Google, I presented to one person, and most recently I presented to the whole team of like 12 people. And like everyone was there, directors, PMs, engineers, like designers, so it can really range. So it's important to tailor your presentation to everyone so that anyone can understand your research.
And one thing I've done is, even for the role, when I've picked 2 projects, I picked one project that team members can relate to. I'm giving an example here that is transportation focused. I've been able in my portfolio to present research around that topic. But I've also, for a second project, presented work that has nothing to do with transportation. And I presented it and prefaced it saying, I'm showing you this work because it's a great example of how I've had to prioritize things for the product team, help them develop a framework for that, and those sorts of things. So I've couched it in a way that they're not taken aback by, oh wow, this is so far out from what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Why are you showing me this work?
Right.
They can frame it in their minds as, oh, okay, we're looking at something where there's a great deal of ambiguity, which there is in many companies, and you're presenting this work to show me how you dealt with that and how you add impact for the business.
Exactly. And the great thing about UX research is that you can work in any type of field, almost.
Yeah,
right? And,
absolutely.
The skills translate from one industry to another.
Yep.
But when you're interviewing for, like really niche company, expect you to have worked in that field, as long as you show your problem solving.
It's problem solving skills at the end of the day. How you think.
Yeah, exactly. Now, question, and this is a point of nervousness for a lot of newer researchers. Maybe they don't really have a solid portfolio, or maybe they don't have real experience with a real client, so they have side projects, and that's how I started.
Right.
What are some tips for these researchers that you have that maybe don't have a real project to talk about?
Right. So imagine you're a recent graduate out of school and you have maybe had internship experience.
Tons of debt.
Probably tons of debt as well. Exactly. I was lucky I went through on scholarship, so I didn't have any.
Okay.
I got off lucky. But what people want to see on the team is that storytelling ability, able to solve problems and walk people through the process that you use to solve that problem. So you may not have an end-to-end, project where you've done generative research to start all the way through to, the evaluative stage and launch. You may not have that. But what you really want to be able to demonstrate is, here's a project from an internship, for example. Here's how I approached it. Here's how I worked with other people. Those are the kinds of things that you should be highlighting in your work at that point. Because people want to see the potential. The team wants to assess that potential.
Agreed. And if you're working on solo projects or your own side project, the problem-solving aspect and collaboration are really important, but also as researchers, we have to be pretty good at problem spotting and identifying problems too. So as I mentioned in previous videos, you can do projects on pretty much anything. Like buying a bus ticket, even that experience could be improved. Or looking for a campsite, anything out there, identify it as a problem. You could form a project around that and show your process throughout, and that could be a portfolio project. And I actually have a step-by-step follow-along project for all of you to follow, which I just finished. So you can check out that playlist down in the description below.
And I've actually interviewed at companies where you share the portfolio ahead of the on-site, and you actually don't present a portfolio, but you present a problem that you worked through that the company may have given you. So the team may give you a problem, a challenge, and you present when you go on site your approach to solving that problem. And I actually love that. I think that's
homework?
Yes, I think that's a great
study.
approach to not presenting work that you've already done. People can look at that prior to the interview, but how you'd approach something within the context of that company, for example, that's super valuable too. Definitely, I would advise do multiple rehearsals of it. Time yourself, present to other people, have it nice and crisp. Do not be prepping your portfolio the night before the interview. That's not good. It's not going to flow well.
I guess there's also tips for how to actually create your portfolio. I have a video on that too. Don't have too much text on there.
Right.
Don't read off of it.
Yeah, pictures are worth 1,000 words.
Okay, so we just walked through what the portfolio presentation entails and how to prepare for it. Again, check out my video on what to include and how to present it. So after the portfolio usually comes a lunch, maybe with a couple of the team members.
Yes.
And definitely don't take that lightly.
Right.
They might say it's chill, we're not interviewing you, but they are. They are.
Yeah.
So how should we conduct ourselves during a lunch interview?
So the lunch interview may not be,
Sorry, I'm not cutting that out.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm good.
So the lunch, it won't be part of typically the decision-making process for a hire or no hire. Having said that, the lunch is an opportunity for you to really pick their brains on the organization, the company, how leadership utilizes research, hopefully. It's really an opportunity for you to ask any questions that are top of mind for you. However, saying that, I have been in lunches where it is an interview. They've combined it with you get to eat a little bit, you won't get to finish your lunch. I've never been able to do it.
Me neither.
Because I'm focused on the interview questions.
Typically after presentation, you're going to have between maybe 4 to 5 interviews with different stakeholders like researchers, designers, product managers, directors. I had to interview with directors, and then hiring managers, and sometimes data scientists.
Yes.
And each one of them, they have some kind of rubric, or list, some things they want to get from you. Typically, they're technical things like, do you know your craft?
Yes.
Hypothetical questions, how you solve problems, collaboration skills, leadership skills, soft skills, essentially, like behavioral questions, like Paula just mentioned, and an opportunity for you to ask them questions too. So that's generally how it's structured. Would you say that's
really well stacked out. I think that's pretty much how it is. And I really would emphasize that it's not just a one-way process. It's an opportunity for you to interview those stakeholders too. If you get extended an offer, these are your future partners in your work. So it is a really good, this bit back to the dating analogy. These are folks that that you're going to have relationships with, and so it's super important to get a pulse on how they work with research, obviously, and how they work within the team. Each of those individual interviews, making sure that you have an idea beforehand the kinds of questions that are important to you, and make sure to fit those in, because you typically will have half an hour with one of your stakeholders. And so you don't want to give long, verbose answers to the questions. You want to be very pointed so that there is enough time for you to be able to ask questions at the end.
Like Paula said, ask what's important to you, but also I've gotten instances where I've had these questions prepared, and I've asked this director, and he literally told me, like, these are boring questions. Ask me something else. So immediately, I just turned off my interview mode, and I'm like, all right, this guy wants a conversation. So what I did, I just asked him, how do you learn new things? You listen to podcasts, like watch videos? I just asked him about how he learns things, because I could see the direction of the conversation wasn't going to go the normal route.
Structured, very...
So you got to be adaptive.
Yes.
To the situation too.
Because they're assessing that too, of you thinking on your feet, being able to be in that moment and adapt, as you say. It's really important.
And I find, I don't know if that's your experience too, but I find that the higher you go when you're interviewing, like if you're interviewing directors, they're less canned. They're like, they don't care, like, oh, do you know this method, blah, blah, blah.
Right, it's not at the technical level.
It's less tactical.
Yeah.
They're going to ask you more behavioral things and leadership abilities.
An impact of your work. I feel like my experience has been, as you say, talking to executives at companies is really just, how research impacts the business at the end of the day. How do you navigate difficult situations in the org? So I think what's typically the structure as well, at the end of all of those one-on-ones, you will have the recruiter close out the interview with you and walk you out, ask you how the day has been, those kinds of things. Here's a big no-no. One thing not to do, I really encourage folks, don't do this, is hound the recruiter about when are you going to get an answer of yes or no on the hire.
Did I get the job?
Right. Don't ask there and then.
Are we there yet?
No.
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 Are we there yet?
That's a surefire way to guarantee you won't get the job.
Yeah, showing signs of desperation is not a good idea.
Like your first date. If you tell your first date, like, I love you.
You're not going to see that person again. It's pretty much guaranteed. So really, handle it in a way that, be very polite in the sense of you've enjoyed the day, you thank them for extending you their time. It is a chunk of time on their side, and it's also time that you've expended, but you can close it out in a very polite, professional manner, and don't hound the recruiter. Now they may ask you, where are you now in the process with other offers, those kinds of things. My really constant advice to people is be transparent. That speaks to your integrity. If you have an offer in hand, be very upfront about that. Recruiters have a tough job.
Shout out to all the recruiters out there.
Yeah, they do not have the easiest job.
I think a great way to close is just like, I've had a great time. Thank you for having me today. I enjoyed our conversations. I'm looking forward to the next steps. Pretty diplomatic, nice way to end it.
And I'll always say, even if you've had a tough day, you will have learned something from that. I guarantee it. Even if you don't see it in the moment, you'll look back in a couple of months maybe, and if that has been a really rough day for whatever reason, you've definitely learned something. And remember that you've had that chance as well to refine your interviewing skills, which is critical.
All right, I think that wraps up the process for the portfolio and also the one-on-one interviews with the stakeholders for your on-site interview. And if you have an on-site interview coming up, or if you have interviews coming up, I do provide mock interviews. So if you're interested in those, check out this link right here or in the description below. Again, thank you so much, Paula, for sharing your experiences.
I hope it's helpful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely helpful. This knowledge is gold. I don't think there's anything else out there like that goes this much into like the interview process for UX researchers. So share this video out. If you found it useful, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. And if you have an interview coming up, kick ass. Hope this video helps. Again, we make all things UX research related to help you become the most badass UX leader. Mad love. Peace.